I told you last year about the ABC producer who was agitating within the organisation to set up an ABC staff climate crisis advisory group. I kid you not, that's what she called it. The original email in November came from radio producer Barbara Hagan, who said this group would come up with ways to inform us about what she called the climate crisis through solutions journalism, effectively activism. And the group would also report to management about how the ABC could tackle climate change internally and externally. Anyway, just days later, the ABC chair kiboshed the idea.
ABC producer has gauged interest in starting a brains trust of ABC staffers to develop ways to report and inform Australians about climate crisis using
It's one of those ideas that it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen?
No.
Why not?
Because the ABC leadership team and the managing director have thought otherwise.
OK, so that bit of climate activism on your tax dollars was finished, right? Not so. ABC staff have ignored that edict from Ita and from management and pressed ahead regardless. A Freedom of Information application by the Institute of Public Affairs has turned up hundreds of pages of emails, including some from January this year, showing Hagan still organising meetings for this group and still getting plenty of support. I got to tell you, flicking through these emails is a lot of fun, although the obsession and ignorance is a bit scary. Dozens wanted to get on board with this awesome or great or fabulous idea. Most of the names are redacted, but check out this one. I did a quick meta-analysis of climate reporting in Australia and found the word climate change was mentioned less than 12% of the time across all digital stories regarding fish kill stories since January. I don't think this is acceptable. What does this person think happened to fish when the rivers dried up more often because we hadn't built dams? Given there's no established link between drought and climate change, what's climate change got to do with the price of fish? And what, pray tell, is the appropriate percentage of climate change references in fish kill stories? Amusingly, ABC staff didn't like their idea being reported. This responder said, "It was a great idea. I don't know how I can help, but I will if I am able. And don't worry about those grumpy warts or the Australian newspaper, as if it's a sin to want to save the planet." Nobody could accuse these people of limiting their ambitions. Yep, they're going to save the planet with your taxes. Check out this email from a Tasmanian staffer. In Hobart, we have a large surface area of roofing, perfect for solar panels and water catchment, along with our car park area, collecting this water and storing it to irrigate the ridiculous amounts of grass around the building. Yet they want to save the planet by getting the ABC to spend more money on solar panels in Hobart. In Hobart, thanks to all those dams, all that hydro, the electricity supply in Tasmania is already 90% renewable. So those solar panels, you guessed it, would do nothing for the planet. They'd just be publicly funded virtue signalling. And water supplies in Tasmania, even in drought, they're plentiful. So the rainwater tanks also unnecessary, just virtue signalling. This is the trouble revealed in so many of these emails. It's all about emotion, virtue signalling and political activism. No comprehension of the issues or the facts. Just silly stuff like this. We should be encouraging the cafe on site to charge much more for coffees in takeaway containers and a bigger discount for keep cups. Yep, save the planet, that'll do it. And a few emails pointed out the ABC already has a heap of climate projects and climate groups already. Hi, great idea. There is a bit of thought going on around this elsewhere, as others have said, but that's no reason to not have a group like this too. I'm all for it and keen to take part. When are too many climate projects never enough? Remember, the ABC is supposed to be reporting the news, not commenting and not advocating. A great initiative, says one respondent, though. With 4 kids and a grandchild now, I believe this is our most important job as commentators. Then there's the bewilderment at the ABC about why others don't share their evangelism. Something that intrigues me about the reporting and acceptance of the messaging around climate change, says one respondent, is the psychology behind why the denial is so prevalent. Is it because they feel people are being shouted at, blamed, that it hides an agenda of wealth redistribution? Congratulations, you just might be onto something there. It seems the trouble here is that too many at the ABC are getting their climate change information from the ABC. Therefore, they just don't know enough about it, because quantity, as we all know, is no substitute for quality. Let me bring in the IPA's Communications Director, Evan Mulholland, who joins me now from Melbourne. Thanks for joining us, Evan. You launched this IPA Freedom of Information request after the Australian broke the story about this group in November last year. What astounds me about this is that even though the chair of the organisation and management says you can't have this advisory group on climate, they go ahead and do it anyway.
That's right. These documents, over 300 of them that I have with me right now, really expose the activist side of a lot of journalists. And even after Ita Buttrose said she was going to rule it out and the management team agreed with her, the staff are going ahead anyway. There's up to 77 people that are part of the group and meetings planned until January. So it's often said that the ABC is a staff collective. But now we have proof. Now, I don't mind that outlets like The Guardian have a bias. It's their right to do so as a private media organisation. But the ABC is under a charter, and that charter requires them to be impartial in reporting on issues such as climate change. And is it any wonder a year to date on the election, they completely missed the debate around the cost of climate policies from the election, when a lot of them hold views like this?
Well, these emails show, of course, that no one's in charge. It doesn't matter what the board or what the management says. They will just do what they like. But it's also so activist. They're actually encouraging the ABC to be campaigning on this issue. No one's actually campaigning for more information, more facts, a more robust policy debate. They're just campaigning on the issue.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and they're looking into what they're calling solutions-based journalism. Now, this is an idea that's been floating around the academic left, that you start off with a solution and outcome and then work back from there. But what journalism's meant to be about is dirt digging and fact-finding and uncovering truths. You can't uncover truths if you're just working to an end solution. The ABC, for example, will work to the end solution that intermittent and unreliable solar and wind power are the most, are the energy path we need to go down, without looking at worldwide examples, without looking at the costs of the energy projects that they're espousing. And, in the Melbourne studio, for example, they bemoan about a lack of solar panels. And there's people going around turning TVs off. Well, Victoria's run most of the time from about 75% of brown coal. So the advisory group would probably need a trigger warning that most of their studios run off brown coal from the Latrobe Valley.
But that's the other thing that's disturbing about this when you read through the emails, I suppose unsurprisingly, because they seem to only consume ABC media. There's no discussion of the big issues, global emissions rising because of China and other countries, even while we're reducing our emissions. There's all this, the fact that they talk about the drought as if that's climate related when the science says there's no direct link between our drought and climate change. They don't seem to be across the core issues about talking about reliable power supply, the renewable sector can't provide. They're just into all this emotive virtue signalling. That's a problem when these are supposed to be the people leading the information exchange with the public.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned about emails from one of their directors, Craig McMurtry, which suggests that ABC staff were unclear about why the ABC wouldn't follow a Guardian model of journalism, which even they admit is advocacy journalism. Now, as I said, the Guardian is well within its right to be biased, but the ABC is not. And I think what this exposes is that many of the journalists we're meant to be trusting to be balanced reporters that are impartial are actually activists. And if the ABC staff want to be activists on an issue and think there is currency in that, then it's well past time we had the debate about privatising the ABC and letting the staff compete in a private media market where they're able to freely espouse those views independent from the taxpayer.